am a Napili resident calling in just to echo, to have a voice for Lahaina. I think it's clear that the needs from Lahaina and Kula have different needs specifically. So I'm not trying to be divisive, but I did want to jump on and have my voice heard on behalf of so many people of Lahaina who have not had a chance to even read the 12 pages because they didn't know about it, or they found out about it last night at 10 o'clock at night. I did have a chance to read it, and I've redlined a lot. So my formal request is to kick this to committee to have all of those very important details, questions and answers provided for the people so they can clearly understand what they are supporting.
I am a Lahaina resident whose house did burn down. On this bill today, as a Lahaina resident, I don't see any other Lahaina people in here. And I personally can't, I have questions just seeing this for the first time. And there's a lot in there that just, to me, with the opting out part, that's not clear, with fines and penalties. And there's a lot of questions that I don't understand this. So I'm not for this being passed today. I really do feel like Lahaina needs, questions and answers and before we make a decision on what's right for us at this point. So I'm asking you not to pass this 86 today. Okay, thank you.
So speaking on Bill 86, the debris from the Lahaina fire is not rubbish. It is some people's whole life's work. I urge you to do what is right, Pono, and dispose of the town's ashes correctly. Not just dump it in a pile and pu'unene with all the coffee cups and the half-eaten donuts from the FEMA workers. Now is a good time to start building a waste-to-energy factory and refine all the remains of Lahaina into biochar and use it to remediate the Aina. And I don't want to hear anyone say we cannot because of such and such law. Malama Aina.
I've been one of the leaders of the Kula Hub, leading the Kula response after the fires. My house was, smack in the middle of it, started right behind my house. My testimony right now is I just want to speak to the urgency on two fronts of the cleanup efforts in Kula and also kind of get some clarification on the language in Bill 86, the way it's currently written. We probably, in the days and weeks after the Kula fire, the Kula community, as I know everyone is aware of, mobilized, like so many other hubs on the island, mobilized, and we removed, well over 1 million pounds of green waste off the mountain just with personal chainsaws. And we're already 5 weeks into this process. We've been hammering in Kula for 5 weeks, cleaning up on our own with just small dollar Venmo donations, and we're getting a lot done. And we would love the county's help, but I just want to make sure it happens quickly enough before, again, the next preventable disaster takes place, whether mudslide, landslide, flooding. My concern right now is that with the county language and the county wanting to come in and help with the hazardous tree removal, which, don't get me wrong, we would love to help, there is an urgency to this cleanup given the rain. We are one rain event away from the next preventable disaster. And we simply do not have the time to be waiting on the political process to play out as it may normally do. And so I just want to testify to the urgency that we're experiencing in Kula right now on getting this situation remedied and rectified as quickly as possible. My second...
Council members, myself and my associates have been talking in circles for over a decade. And that goes both ways. I have submitted materially relevant testimony, including documents and a professional video produced for Akaku, but never aired for fear of retaliation. You're sadly going to discover that a formal investigation by this council of the fire will also lead back to you. This council shares in the responsibility for what happened in Lahaina and which gross negligence continues to happen to present time. Just drive from the tunnel to Lahaina and look at the land. Ukumahame, Oluwalu, Laniupoko. The council has both legislated intentional loopholes into its ordinances and has failed to legislate for public safety. For decades, the council has relied upon the very county administration officials and county attorneys who have worked hand in glove with developers and their professional consultants to help draft your legislation. In 1994, with the help of then council member Alice Lee, the lot line consolidation and re-subdivision ordinance was passed, which allowed subdivisions to avoid going through the same standard of review as a normal subdivision process under Title 18 of the Maui County Code. Title 18 requires all the department agencies to review and comment on the proposed development and conditions they impose: fire, water, sewer, etc. This ordinance circumvented layers of agency review, which allows for public and environmental safety, etc. The attorneys supporting this kind of development said at the time that it's just moving fence lines around. Additionally, the Federal Coastal Zone Management Act, implemented at the county level through SMA permits, is not being properly implemented and is being selectively enforced. Council members, look at the picture in your West Side community plan. You didn't legislate to prevent it from continuing on to the buildings. The picture is the whole area is burnt in 2018. The whole thing. Nobody here thought, what if that fire kept going? That picture is such an admission of negligence. Did you do anything since then? It says right there in the plan they should, quote, encourage the development of fire breaks. Encourage who? You are the legislators. You write the laws. You should have adopted by ordinance protective measures urgently to protect the people. Your names are on the cover of this community plan. So which county official wrote the language, encourage? And you allowed a 6-story building for affordable housing to be built up to the edge of this land, which burned down. Ms. Paulton received a notice by a staff member of the mayor in a transmittal. It's attached to my written testimony about Peter Martin not completing his SMA conditioned fire breaks in Oluwalu. Was anything done? We've been telling this council with whistleblower Christopher Salem for over a decade that developers, their professional consultants, their attorneys, and administration directors are circumventing the Federal Coastal Zone Management Act and using the loopholes you allowed them to write into your legislation.
Remember, it's not a fact until it's signed by the governor, but he's going to back off on some of his proclamation on housing to restore environmental review, restore the statute relating to conserving historical resources, a provision altering the authority of the Land Use Commission. A state level zoning authority has been removed. The Sunshine Law is back. And lastly, I think the greatest news is that none of it's going to cover development in Lahaina. So we shall look forward to that. We do have people here on the island that want to build modular homes. Currently, they are building them on driveways, personal property. That's not what we want. We want housing for our people that are now going to be coming out of the hotel. Maybe you're going to be told October 6th, 7th. We don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen on October 8th. We only know what we've heard. Unemployment is already having problems. It hasn't been funded yet.
In 2018, we, the community of Lahaina, we engaged in the disaster response, much like the entire island of Maui did this time. And then, as now, we asked why we weren't prepared, right? Why the county agency's response was so lacking, and how we could do better the next time. So fast forward, and this is actually not the next time, this is the next time since something like this has occurred. And all of those questions are still pertinent, probably exponentially so, right? Right now we have too many vulnerable communities still out here in the county that we need to investigate what went wrong right now so that we could implement change right now, right? There's no time to wait for an after action report. 2 to 3 years from now, we need to investigate as we're going through it so we can pivot to make better decisions for our people right now. So I urge you to create this committee immediately and engage in the process transparently, inviting all agencies and stakeholders, because this needs to be shared with the entire community to gain their insight as well, right?
My name is Andre Filman. I'm the owner of a burned house up in Kula, and as Kyle already hinted, our neighborhood is really eager to start the debris cleanup process of our properties. And I personally feel strongly that the entire process is moving along way too slowly and is probably hampered by, in some cases, unnecessary red tape. My biggest concern really is that my neighbors whose houses are still intact up there, they live in the toxic ashes and the dust produced by my property or the other burned structures. And Bill 86 even emphasizes that danger of the debris, and in the later part even suggests fines for property owners if they don't clean up in a timely manner. They opt out of the federal cleanup program. So I urge you really, please, if you do everything in your power so we can move forward with this debris removal process. And we are still awaiting the release of the right of entry form needed for the Army Corps of Engineers to start the the federal cleanup process. And as we understand it, the county organizes this entry form process. And after an initial direct contact that we had, the flow of information has really stalled. And if you can, please make people that are in charge aware that the importance of better communication and direct communication with the affected community members, not through a website, but they have the contact information. Please get in contact with people directly. Also, some neighbors feel that they are forced into using the federal cleanup program if there is no clear guidance from the county on what the process is if they want to opt out. So I'd really like to raise the awareness of urgency and pass Bill 86 so that property owners can understand the requirements and the associated costs if they want to do a private cleanup, so that they can make an informed decision going forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
I wanted to talk about the actual debris removal. As far as Lahaina versus Kula, the sites are two quite different sites. We're obviously on a gulch, and a lot of our houses were built on the edges of the gulches. So the debris pile and the ash pile is directly going to affect the stream. So, I mean, we feel up country that it's critical that we try to move. I mean, I understand that we're trying to lump Lahaina in with Kula as far as, how we're going to establish the debris removal, but these are two different terrains, two different areas. Being in Kula as property owner and with my house literally, 4 feet from the edge of the gulch, all those toxins are going to wash into the gulch, and that's like the last thing we want. So we haven't even been able to get the EPA to come up there and stabilize by spraying some of the spray tech onto our properties just to stabilize it in the meantime. And then we still have the debris sitting there. And it rained yesterday, and some of the ash that I have on my property literally is going over the side of the edge of the hill there. So if we get a big storm like normal, we're going to have bigger problems. Basically testifying kind of about the urgency that all the homeowners up there have felt about getting the debris removed as soon as possible.
Do indeed look at page 34 of the West Maui Community Plan. That photo shows the fire coming, just kissing Lahaina town in 2018. And the community plan has language that it requires all projects going forward to incorporate defensible space around their perimeter. It requires new buildings to serve as emergency shelters. But somehow it only encourages the development of fire breaks and bioswales that can be used for greenways and recreational paths. How did that language of encouragement rather than requirement end up in the West Maui Community Plan? Whoever's responsible, and hopefully there are transcripts of all of those meetings and stuff, whoever supported and pushed back on that not being requirement, the lawyers pursuing wrongful death claims probably want to know who those individuals are. because that's where responsibility lies. Other council actions that have been taken and ignored. You did an audit. The ZAED audit was initiated by the county council, and it showed a clear pattern in the planning department of cronyism, intimidation, and corruption. Michelle McLean was at the heart of that criticism, and now she's been rewarded as an executive assistant working for Alice Lee? Are you kidding me? You voted to spend our money on outside lawyers to try and crush Chris Salem because his case has whistleblower claims against Michelle McLean and others. And you want to litigate instead of resolving these issues and embracing the whistleblower claims? Those whistleblower claims are what contributed to this disaster.